to the Friday night, December 10th live stream for studentloanjustice.org. My name is Alan Collins, founder of Student Loan Justice. We are the oldest and largest and pretty much only true citizens grassroots group actually fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've been around since 2005. We've been featured on 60 Minutes and the New York Times and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to get right into it tonight, guys. So today, Jen Psaki, White House spokesperson, basically shut down the call for Biden to again extend the repayment pause on federal student loans. So I still give it about a 50-50 that they will extend it. The people at the White House and in Washington, D.C., Department of Education, they know what I know. And what I know is that even before the pandemic, less than half of all federal student loan borrowers were making payments on their student loans. Less than half before the pandemic. So what do you think that's going to be come February 1st? Is the economy better or worse than before the pandemic? I'd say it's a lot worse, particularly for people in the low middle income groups. Guys, this lending system is toast. It's been rigor mortising over the past year and a half, 20 months now, more than a year and a half. This lending system is done. It's failed. It's by all rational metrics. Again, before the pandemic, 80%, 4 out of 5 of all borrowers were either not paying, and that's 50%, or they were paying, but their loan balance was going up. So they were screwed. 80% of the borrowers were probably headed for default on their student loans. So what percentage of people do you think are going to start resuming making payments on their student loans come February 1st? You think it'll be half of all borrowers? No, not even close. I think it'll probably be half of that. So maybe 25% of the borrowers. By the way, if you have any questions or comments and you're watching us on Facebook, then by all means, throw them out and I will happily respond to them if I can see them, which is not always a certainty, but I will look, and if I can see them, I will respond. So today, Jen Psaki, White House press conference, says it's the highest priority of this administration to ensure a smooth transition to repayment come February 1st for the federal student loan program. So that tells me two things. Number one, they're just completely full of shit. They're just winging it. They're saying what they're saying. But maybe the more important thing is it shows where their priorities rest. We knew Joe Biden was a bad guy. We knew that he was beholden to the student loan swamp. His history going back to the 1970s is just terrible on this issue. And another thing that we can sort of glean from this kind of a comment is that the lending swamp is getting desperate. They've gone 20 months without having any income for all intents and purposes. They don't like that at all. They want that income to start up again. And apparently the swamp is stronger than Biden's value of the people who elected him to be president. Make no mistake, but for his promises to cancel student loans, his campaign pledge, campaign platform to return bankruptcy protections to student loans, there's no way on God's green earth that Joe Biden would have won Georgia. Probably no way that he would have won Pennsylvania. That's a lot of people don't think he did win either of those states. But anyways, the only reason that Georgia, for example, was even close was because of the promises that Joe Biden made about student loans. So it is astounding to me that the White House could stab us not even in the back, like right between the eyes. So blatantly. It's almost as if they don't care about the midterms, almost as if they don't care about the next presidential election. I don't know. I don't speak for them. All I know, and this is the best news that you'll hear from me tonight, this lending system is toast. It's failed. It is rigor mortising. There's no saving it. No matter what the people in Washington, D.C. do or don't do, say or don't say, this lending system is finished. You know, the default rate for subprime home mortgages was 20%. That's 1 in 5. That was pretty much a failed lending system. We now know that the class of 2004, people who graduated or left school in 2004, their default rate, 40%. That's double the default rate of subprime home mortgages. And the class of 2004 was only borrowing a third, in fact, less than a third of what is being borrowed today. So I don't know how much more data you really even need to hear from me. I could go on for a while, but is there anything else you need to hear to conclude for yourself that this is indeed a failed lending system? Guys, student loans are becoming, in fact, they are at this point, a national joke. And in my humble opinion, personal opinion, if you ever pay another dime on your federal loans, that's both probably unwise in my estimation, and it's unpatriotic. This is a nationally threatening lending beast. It's unconstitutional. It's predatory. This beast should not be fed. This beast should be taken out back and shot. This beast should be taken to the tub and drowned. And that's a very conservative thing that I just said, by the way. As far as maybe taking a step back and taking the maybe 10 or 15,000 foot view, the Republicans should be smelling blood in the water right now. I mean, this is the perfect opportunity for the Republicans who have been either silent or against loan cancellation, against bankruptcy up to this point. This is the perfect opportunity for them to turn 180 degrees or maybe just plant their flag in this ground for the first time and fight with us, the borrowers, over the federal government, over the colleges that are enriching themselves to our debt. This is a lending catastrophe that no true conservative should say nice things about. This is something that every true conservative should be fighting with every ounce of fiber in his being. So this is the great opportunity for progressive Republicans. Is that even a thing? People like Josh Hawley, people like John Cornyn of Texas, maybe people like Matt Gaetz in Florida, which you love him or hate him, guys. This should be a conservative issue. Biden has stabbed us in the eyeball. So like right now, guys, we're fighting for bankruptcy legislation, S-2598. This is a Senate bill that would return bankruptcy protections to federal student loans that are more than 10 years old. A little bit of a caveat there. I'm not thrilled with that, but it's a good bill. It's worth fighting for. In fact, it is the first great bill in a great position that we've ever had. You know, Dick Durbin out of Illinois is the sponsor of this bill. He's a Democrat. The two co-sponsors right now are Republicans. People I just said, John Cornyn and Josh Hawley, Texas, Missouri. Dick Durbin is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. So he's got all the votes he needs to get this bill passed through committee, no problem. And I can only assume that he has all the votes he needs to get this passed through the full Senate. Even just two Republicans co-sponsoring is enough to tip the scales in the Congress, assuming that all the Democrats vote for it, which they had effing better. But honestly, guys, I could see this thing coming up for a vote in the Senate, and I could see it passing with 97 votes. Truly, I could see this being an overwhelmingly huge slam dunk. So we've got to push this bill, guys. We've got to get more. We've got to push as hard as we can in every place that we can possibly think of. One tangible place is through co-sponsorship. We can and should and must ask all senators, but most notably Republican senators, to co-sponsor this bill, to join Josh Hawley and John Cornyn and co-sponsor this bill. It means everything, guys. And, let me step back a minute and let me say, nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. But the founding fathers knew that bankruptcy was so important, they called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution. Not the Bill of Rights, by the way, the body of the Constitution itself. And they called for it ahead of the power to declare war, ahead of the power to raise an army and build a navy. That's how important the founding fathers knew that bankruptcy rights were. So, having said that, nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do, as I said. But that's not the point of all this. The point is that we need the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. Whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy, frankly, it's not important. What's important is that we get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. Probably the most important thing I'll tell you tonight. As long as bankruptcy remains gone from these loans, there is almost no chance that we will see meaningful loan cancellation. I want loan cancellation. I want this lending system is toast. It needs to be wiped away completely and started again. We need to replace it. And probably not with another lending system, by the way. I don't think the government has any business loaning money to its citizens. That's just ridiculous in general. But clearly, whatever replaces this failed catastrophe, I don't care. These loans need to go. And unless and until we have the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, the loan cancellation that we're likely to see from Biden or maybe even the next president is going to be this nonsense $10,000 stupid, or this nonsense up to $50,000 nonsense. Up to $50,000, ladies and gentlemen, could mean anything. And if the Department of Education has its way, and they will bureaucratize it to death so that up to $50,000 means almost nothing for almost everyone. We've seen this movie before any number of times. There have been any number of loan cancellation programs come and go. Income contingent repayment plans. There was several of those. Income driven repayment. Income-based repayment, which a lot of people have now here today. Public service loan forgiveness. On and pay, repay. On and on and on and on and on. 99% of the people trying for all of those programs never got the loans forgiven. So when you hear, oh, I'm going to cancel up to $50,000 in student loans, you can bet that that's going to mean almost nothing for almost everyone. Up to $50,000, great. Oh, but you, Mr. Smith, yeah, you got $3,487 because this and that, and your household income, and who knows, all these different means testing things, other little criteria. That's what the Department of Education does. That's what they're good at. That's what we'll get. So, and this is maybe a little side point that I made the other night, but I'm going to make again. Anytime you hear any student loan activist or advocate saying, no, bankruptcy, no, we don't want bankruptcy. No, bankruptcy is unpleasant. We need to get loans canceled. Fight for loan cancellation instead of bankruptcy. Whenever you hear anyone saying that sort of nonsense, you should run from them, because either they are moronically idiotic and have no business being in the business of fighting for student loan borrowers, I should say, or they're literally working for the other side. In 2007, some student advocates came around saying, oh, no, let's not do bankruptcy. Let's do loan cancellation instead through public service loan forgiveness, IBR. How did that work out? In 2011, some student loan activists came around and they said, oh, no, bankruptcy is unpleasant. Let's fight for loan cancellation instead. So they were pitting bankruptcy against loan cancellation. And that is the stupidest thing in the world. But here's what we found out. These student activists had actually come from the war room of a company called the DCI Group. Google that, DCI Group. is a Republican lobbying firm in Washington, D.C. that takes money from banks, from insurance companies, from oil companies, tobacco companies, and they create fake grassroots groups to sway public opinion and, more importantly, to sway public policy. So guys, the bad guys, the student loan swamp, they love that argument. Oh no, bankruptcy is unpleasant. No, let's go for loan cancellation instead. Because they know that the type of loan cancellation we're going to get in the absence of bankruptcy is bullshit. It's nonsense. For you, it'll be $3,487. And oh, by the way, in the year and a half it takes them to actually do that, you will have added probably $9,000 or $10,000 onto your student loan debt in interest. So no, guys, we're not doing that. We don't play that shit. We won't be fooled again. And anybody trying to pit bankruptcy against student loan cancellation is suspiciously and disturbingly wrong. At best, they're an idiot, and you should tell them that. Remember that. So, oh, I think I can see our video now. If we have any comments, as I said, throw them out. I'm going to try and keep it rather short tonight. The one action item that I have for you all tonight, we are blitzing the Senate right now. We're asking everybody to call both of their senators. If you look, in fact, just go to our website, studentlawjustice.org, and you'll see this thing that says call your senators. Do that. Maybe call over the weekend and leave a message. But without a doubt, call on Monday morning and try and get through to a human and tell them to co-sponsor S2598. Here's the great thing, and I never thought I'd say this. Here's the great thing about bankruptcy, folks. With the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, okay, Joe Biden and the Department of Education, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go, the jig is up, ladies and gentlemen. We actually have to cancel student loans now, very broadly, very widely, and very deeply. Because here's the numbers, guys. There are 38 million distressed student loan borrowers, federal student loan borrowers in the country. If bankruptcy protections are returned and loans are not canceled, then something like 20, 25 million people, maybe more, are going to ultimately have to file for bankruptcy. Now, in an average year, fewer than 1 million people file for bankruptcy for any reason, for all debts. So this would overwhelm the bankruptcy courts to the point of seizure. Joe Biden does not want to be the president who presides over the bankruptcies of tens of millions of people who seize the bankruptcy courts and render them paralyzed or squashed on a level that we've never seen before, ever in the history of the United States of America. Even going back to the Great Depression, this would be by far and away more bankruptcies than what we saw during that horrible, terrible time in our country. So guys, Joe Biden's not going to do that. He's not going to force 30, 25 million people into bankruptcy. He's going to cancel the loans. It's going to happen. They will be written off. And remember also, he can cancel all student loans without needing one dime from the Treasury, without adding one penny to the national debt. And I think on balance, I can't predict the future, but I think on balance, with bankruptcy protections returned, Joe Biden and his staff and the people at the Department of Education, other people, they will take a very hard look. And they will say, you know, if we're going to be canceling 75% of student loans, why don't we just call it stimulus, write every penny off, and let's start from scratch. Let's use the next year and come up with a more rational, more efficient, far more pleasing to work with higher education financing system that actually works, doesn't get the colleges obscenely rich, doesn't beggar the students and their families and their parents, which is happening increasingly. I think that's probably the most, or at least very likely outcome. But that all depends on us getting our bankruptcy rights back. So right now, that all depends on S2598. Also, for private student loans, there's HR 4907. That bill is going to be much harder to pass, But when we get together, we can get it done, and that will return bankruptcy protections to private student loans. So come on, guys. Hey, Tiffany asks, Alan, if loans are forgiven, will taxes on the forgiveness go away too? The answer is yes, Tiffany. Thank you. Thankfully, and I think we have Elizabeth Warren to thank for this, believe it or not, who we're not always the biggest fan of lately, I might add. As of the COVID relief bill of, I want to say 2020, like what was that, August or something, 2020, language was inserted into that relief bill, which put a hiatus on canceled federal student loan debt, the tax penalty for that. So I don't know if I said that in a clean way, but until 2026, I want to say, I think it was a 5-year thing. All federal student loan debt that is canceled is not taxable income. So we're good on that. And by the way, just in case you didn't know, you can actually discharge federal tax in bankruptcy. A lot of people don't know that, but yeah, guys, hopefully nobody will have to file bankruptcy. Nobody wants to. Hopefully very few people will. Just the threat of bankruptcy alone should be enough to compel very widespread, if not total, loan cancellation. And anybody trying to pit bankruptcy against federal student loan cancellation, like that, whoever, what's her name, Melissa something on Twitter, be very suspicious of people trying to pit the one against the other. They go hand in glove, ladies and gentlemen. They are compatible. They are congruent. So remember that. If I can see any more comments here. Yeah, I think I've gone long enough, guys. It's a Friday night. It is starting to snow very hard here in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. We're probably going to get a foot tonight. So I think I'm going to bunker down. I'm going to wish you all well. The very last thing I'll say is don't forget, call your senators. This shit is not going to happen unless we make it happen. I'm getting comments from congressional staff, Senate staff, noting the stream of calls that they've gotten all week. We need to turn that stream into a flood. The student loan companies are starting to harass our members all over the country by phone. So let's return the favor. We need you, and you need us, and you need everyone to be helping. So be the freaking change that you want to see. Get off your ass and call both of your senators. If you don't, you're a dick. You're worse than a dick if you don't. Pull your weight. Nobody else is going to do your work for you. So anyways, guys, we got this. Just takes a little bit of work on everybody's part. So take heart. Have a great weekend. Good luck. Keep us posted as to your accomplishments. We love to brag on that sort of thing. Godspeed. I'll be back on Sunday. And God bless everybody.